Hey, Merry Christmas. It's Christmas Eve today. I got it done, all 24 videos. Now this wasn't the video I was hoping to do, but I didn't have time to do it today. When you guys see it, you'll understand. And I think it'll be better if it's not Christmas themed. But I'm going to talk about Sasquatch activity around the Peoria, Illinois area. I'm going to start with a story from two friends of mine who, they're brothers, and their dad worked at, they grew up at Cap Tapawingo, and their dad was the groundskeeper there. But this had happened in the early 2000s, and their dad was out hunting, and he was in a deer stand, and he was right on the edge of a field, and on the other side of that field in the woods was a ravine. But anyway, he's sitting in his deer stand, and he sees these coyotes run out of the ravine, looking totally terrified and exhausted. And then a few moments later, he hears an extremely loud scream that he said was loud enough. It sounded like his head was right next to a car horn. But that was all that happened in that incident. But a couple weeks later, his brother comes out of the woods, and he won't say what happened, but all he'll say is that hunting ain't worth dying over, and there's things in those woods that'll kill you. But and then after that, sometime later, they were listening to Coast to Coast, and they were playing Sasquatch calls, and he said that's exactly what he had heard. Now, Cap Tapawingo is interesting because it borders with Black Partridge Park. In Black Partridge Park, I hike all the time, and I actually went hiking there for the first time this past spring since I got back from my expeditions, and I started noticing stuff. And again, none of this is certain, but it's just weird. I'll include a picture of some of the structures that some of the supposed structures I've seen around Black Partridge. But also, I want to note, with these structures, after I photographed them, the woods went totally quiet. And that doesn't mean anything for certain, but it's just weird, you know. And that is reported activity, that when you interact with their structures, when you photograph their structures, it pisses them off. But also, after I photographed those structures, it wasn't like the woods just went quiet. The woods went quiet all the way from the time I photographed them to the walk back to my car. And I could hear the regular forest noises above me and behind me after I passed. I mean, like faintly, but still, you know, like it was obvious that this silence was just surrounding me as I went back to my car. But I think when you take everything into account, from my friend's dad's story, and then the structures, the fact that the woods went quiet after I photographed them, I'm pretty sure they're still in that area. Now, I can't go into Cap Tapawingo for a couple reasons. First, it's a Girl Scout camp, and I don't want to get caught in all my gear and have people think I was out there hunting Girl Scouts. So I really don't want to go out there for that reason. But it's also, other than them scaring my friend's dad and their uncle, it really isn't, doesn't sound like they're aggressive. It doesn't sound like they're a threat to anyone. They just want to be left alone. So I'm not going to mess with them for that reason. I might go out and spend a couple days and see if I can get any sort of communication, not insulting them, not trying to piss them off. Just seeing what happens if I spend a couple days on the Black Partridge side in the isolated areas off trail in Black Partridge, and see if they come and interact with me. But I've had other weird things happen to me in this area as well. I was out at Woodford Ditches, or the Woodford Waterfowl Preserve, and this was really early in the morning, because I had gotten up to drive around and watch the sunrise, and I ended up at Woodford Ditches, and it was like before 6 o'clock. But I walked out to like an access road behind where the campsites are, and I remember I heard a wood. Now these access roads, there's like multiple roads and then like marshland in between. That's just like swampy marshland, you know. But from that marshland, I heard a wood knock, and the thing is, that wood knock didn't sound as like loud or as aggressive as the ones I heard in Little Pond Array, but it was still a wood knock. And when I heard it, I had to find a good piece of wood, but I knocked back and it responded. And it did that like, I don't know, I'm gonna guess like a dozen times before my stick broke and I couldn't find another good one to keep trying, but that entire time it kept responding to me. Now that could have been a beaver or something, or some sort of bird, something, you know, I don't know. It's just weird. And something similar happened to me, not as consistent response, but at the Marshall Reserve up the road from where Woodford Ditches is. And I was actually like, I was up on a hill, and then across the highway was where all the marsh was, and I had heard wood knocks, and I wood knocked back, and like maybe, I don't know, between like half and 3/4 of the time I'd get a response. But again, that's just weird. And other than that, there are reports all the time around this area. I know Jubilee State Park, there's a lot of reports around there. All along the river, barge workers talk about seeing them. They're McNaughton Park around here, around Pekin, around McNaughton Park, Emily Dickinson Park, I think that's what it's called. But anyway, there's a lot of reports of them around here, so I think I'm just going to talk about that this Christmas. So I'll get the other video out soon enough, but not today. So Merry Christmas, guys.